Welcome to the SRC, the only premier platform available to student leaders across all levels of education, from nursery to university, where serious issues that affect students, the nation, and the world is discussed. We have an important topic today to discuss. We are discussing sexual harassment of students on campus. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. If you have just joined us, this is the SRC coming to you. This is the only platform where student leaders from every level of education have the opportunity to come here and discuss issues that affect students deeply. From nursery to the university, there is sexual harassment. Who is doing what is not right and who is doing what is right to solve this problem? With me today to discuss this very important topic is Mr. Ebenezer Boakye, a former Ghana National Union of Polytechnic Students, GENUP's president. He is currently a student of Catholic University College at Fiapre in Sunyani. Mr. Ebenezer,
GERSHON,
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
How was your journey?
It was fine.
A long journey from Sunyani to Accra today.
Very long one, of course.
All right, not to waste time, let's go straight to the point.
Certainly.
You are a student leader,
Sure.
And you've been on campus.
Yeah.
And you definitely have heard of sexual harassment of students on campus.
Yes.
We know sexual harassment comes in various forms. At times in the US, you hear people say, he grabbed my breast, he grabbed my back, then it becomes court case. People lose their jobs. On our campuses, what's the nature of sexual harassment?
I think it doesn't take a very different form, particularly if it has to do with one done by a male to mete it out to a female. It takes the normal form of invading a person's personal space.
Okay.
When I talk about a person's personal space, I'm talking about there is some sort of closeness which is allowable to people we give opportunity to. If I don't have a certain level of intimacy with you, you can't and come so close to me in a romantic way. So all the pattern of any body part, particularly those areas that are quite erotic, we can classify all those ones under sexual harassment. It could be as minimal as just a flirtatious look, a consistent flirting with somebody. For instance, if a lecturer came to class and continuously they have a certain way of looking at a particular lady. If it's consistent and it gets intimidating, and they follow that through with invitations to their office or attempts to meet the lady anywhere, those ones could be classified under under sexual.
In our jurisdiction, when we talk of sexual harassment, we know it just as asking the person for sex. Always pestering the person about for sex. So is that not what usually it is?
That's a very, very blunt perception of the whole thing.
Okay.
It's more serious and it's more serious than that. If it got to that level you're talking about, then it's advanced. And the reason why these things are better dealt with in foreign places, outside Ghana, in the Western world, is because the most minimal of it is very offensive over there.
Okay.
It looks as if here it has to get to a much intolerable level, and it's given many people the opportunity to dare do it. So I think it shouldn't get to the level of even touch. If a person flirts at you consistently.
So you mean if a lecturer looks at a student in class just with a flirting eye, that's sexual harassment?
I am a teacher, and there are kids we like.
Oh, okay.
I'm a teacher of English. There are kids we like, and if you see a student you like, you admire. However, if I pick one particular student out, particularly opposite sex, or even in our days of homosexuality, a male, let me give you an example. When I was young in Sunyani, I met a man who was into herbal medicine. He invited me home, and the man began rubbing. I had curly hair when I was young. If you saw me, I looked like a.
You mean he wanted to sodomize you?
I
when you were young?
I was young. I was a boy. He sent me home, and he was like, he running his hand through my hair. The way he was smelling my hair, I was young, but I felt it was quite uncomfortable. When I went to him, I didn't go there again. So this was man to a boy, same sex.
So on campus, same-sex harassment also exists?
In our days where homosexuality is everywhere, we may not have it as popular here in Ghana as other places. However, So I don't want us to limit it to happenings between opposite sex. It could be heterogeneous or
So then that brings me to my next question. Is it something that has lived with us that we are not able to deal with, or it's a recent development?
A lot of social vices are age-old. They've been around. But they rise to their prominence as time goes on. You know, things are becoming worse and worse. Scripture says that evil men shall become worse and worse. So we may now be seeing them in, if you allow me, gargantuan measurement, you know, or quantities. But however the case, these things have been around. But society has kept quiet about them and has allowed them to flourish. So if anybody thinks that these things have not been around for long, then they may have to go down and do personal research. I mean, some sort of interview with people.
Oh, okay.
And get to know that these
so
things have been
society
around
has not taken any action to deal with this sexual harassment on our campuses.
It's rather a matter of much pragmatic actions, you know, than a no action, you know. And sometimes the problem has to do with people. If a person doesn't report it, how do you deal with it? Very often.
Oh, okay, so, but you made mention of same-sex harassment.
Yes.
Well, we know that it is the ladies usually who are harassed by lecturers on campus for sexual satisfaction.
That's more common. Yeah, if you compare the two, that is the more common, where a male is trying to get it from a female. But it doesn't take away the other part. But let me concentrate on a man getting it from a woman, from a man who is up high there, and let's say a lecturer and a student. It happens a lot. For some of these lecturers, it's some sort of their entitlement, if I may say.
Entitlement.
That once you're a lady and a student, it is part of their conditions of service, so to say, that they should have some sort of access to you. However weird it is, that's some people's thinking. And somebody once said that it is a silence of good people that makes evil thrive. If Kwabena did it and nobody talked about it, and the victim herself has kept quiet about it, then Kwajo will also have the nerve to do it with Dama.
You keep mentioning the lecturers, but don't we have the ladies to blame on our campus? You see the way they dress. At times, I'm a student.
Yes.
I was a student, and I am still a student.
Yes.
At times, even we students, when we see the way they dress, at times we just swallow saliva. Do we blame the lecturers for, you know, they are men, they have feelings.
Yeah. They kind of have an adage, and to what is if you, as you advise the cat, you also advise the mouse, you advise the cat. It's two-way. Most of these things are triggered. For many men, it takes a woman to some sort of start something. There are women, students who don't want to learn, and they want to use their feminine features to acquire what they want. So you can get a lecturer whose mind was not there at all, but a lady's supposition and her gestures made him think that he's been invited to a certain...
Gestures like how? She's dressed, she's her normal dress.
Flirting can be done two-way. Just as a man can flirt to a woman also can flirt to a man. And I think that, for instance, if a lady is used to going to a lecturer's office, and she doesn't really have any tangible thing to talk about, but just trying to strike some sort of an acquaintance. And when she goes, she's very much provocatively dressed. I'm talking about cleavage is showing, and everything she does, all the funny things she laughs about things that are not funny.
You know, men, we are moved by what we see.
Thank you. You know, if a lady does that continuously, then she may be calling for something, either intentionally or unintentionally.
But as a lecturer, you are seen as a guardian of this lady.
Exactly.
Why do you take advantage of the freedom of dressing in our country? Why do you take advantage of the person's dressing and try to advance towards her sexually?
Yeah, professionally.
I think the lecturers, they shouldn't go that far.
Yes.
And mostly some of these lecturers are married.
Very often. And professionally speaking, a professional should be able to handle all these things without committing themselves. But human as we are, sometimes our humanity is able to override professionalism. And that's when people forget who they are and do things that are way below where they stand in society. So let us be preventive. By being preventive, let the ladies dress well, you know. But there also are men, no matter, even if the woman, if the ladies came in sackclothes, they will still do what they have to do.
Yeah, you made mention of some ladies do it to get grades.
Yes.
But how serious is that? So does that mean a lot of people graduating from our universities, the ladies did not qualify for the certificates they come out with?
That's a huge possibility. I'm schooling again in different institutions, and I've schooled in a polytechnic before. Mm-hmm. The ladies, you see them once in a while. It's as if they're doing a distance program. However, you're all in the same class.
You see them once in a while in the lecture hall.
Yes, and yet they come.
Wow.
And even the very few time they're around, they are not as seriously learning as any ordinary person should be doing. You see, and yet when results are in, they get what they want. These are people who have their feet on something. You see, many people go to school not liking the courses they are giving. Mm-hmm. For a lot of people, it's just, I have to go to school. So when they hit the rocks, as in they finding their course difficult, then they have to use what they have to get what they want. It's a very popular phrase in that context, using what you have to get what you want. And so it's a fact that ladies are around who would do that for monetary gains and for academic reasons. And either of them is not a good thing to do.
You see, so does that mean that we can no more trust our lecturers to be neutral in administering the examination? Because they are the people who set the questions, they are the ones who mark, they are the ones who give out the grades. So if they have to sleep with certain ladies to give out the questions to them, then is there any fairness at all in sitting for exams with such people? And these lecturers, are they not diluting the essence of examination?
We cannot ascribe harassment and unprofessionalism to all lecturers, even though a good number of them do these things. So we trust that the few who are good will maintain the system. However, a majority of them go into this particular act, then certainly we're going to have the quality of exam in the universities or at every level of schooling. We're going to have them compromised, because imagine you be in bed with a lady and she has some sort of facts in this world where people can take secret images and all of that. Naturally, your command over that person reduces. You can't really carry yourself about the way you naturally
So it means the lecturer has no moral right anymore to enforce his authority over such a student in the class.
And do not forget that the lady did that for a purpose. It's for her to get some sort of upper hand or her way through. So if you, at the end of the day, do not give her that upper hand or give her that academic advantage she wants, then you breach a contract and she may want to make
that is a very good point. You know, recently we took an examination and it was cancelled. Really? The rumor was that some lady, one way or the other, used what she has to get what she wants. So it got to the school authorities and the whole exam was cancelled. Another one organized again. We, the students, were penalized because somebody used what she has to get what she wants.
Yes.
Is it fair to just punish with the students to resit for what we don't know about and let the lecturer just go scot-free? Because that's what happens. We don't hear anything being done to the lecturers.
As fair as it may sound, that's quite what has been happening all the time. once the paper was leaked, certainly a reset of the paper is a perfect idea. But in as much as the lecturer, who was supposed to have kept those papers secure, did not do his job well, and as a result, those papers got leaked, something should have been done to him.
All right.
It is only by so doing that we can actually deter people from doing the same.
All right, Mr. Ebenezer, let me cut you there. Viewer, we are going for a short break. When we come back, we will take it from there. What deters lecturers from sexually harassing students? Don't go away. Welcome back from the break. This is the SRC, and we are talking about sexual harassment on our campuses. Ebenezer, before we went on the break, we were looking at whether it is fair for students to be made to resit exams and lecturers who are culprits. Let's go.
Yeah, ideally, it's not a fair thing to do. Sometimes, because of the one right person, you should let the many wrong people go. But for example, we can't really let a leaked paper go up without.
No, but my point is,
I'm coming.
There was a perpetrator. Somebody,
yes.
somebody made this happen.
Yes.
There were two parties to this.
Good.
Usually, with the students who know nothing about it, we are all made to suffer the same consequence as the person who went to sleep with the lecturer and got the paper leaked. So, is it not just right that the lecturer also gets some punishment?
That's very right, but it's inevitable for the paper to be resat. It's very necessary for quality assurance purposes. But the paper must be resat. However, strict investigation should go into it so that the particular lecturer who is responsible for that paper, and if, of course, there are other officers in the school that work together to ensure the security of those papers. All those people, an investigation must be done across those.
So you said for quality assurance purposes,
Yes.
we need to take the paper again. So the question is, then the lecturers who are doing this, are they helping develop the youth for the future? Are they developing the nation? Because we are being trained to go out there to take over organizations, to man machinery, to turn things around as graduates. So if this is the way they are producing us, these lecturers, are they fit to be in the lecture hall?
I have realized that no matter what level it says, students learn from their lecturers, or learners learn from their teachers. No matter the level, the teacher may be a younger person, but there's learning. And so, as a society, we shouldn't be thinking of academics alone. Knowledge without morality is a very, very weird blend. And when we talk about people being moral, it has nothing to do with being religious. Morality and ethics is at the core of being human. The very fact that you're a human being, you may be an atheist, but one thing that makes you a human being is for you to have morals. That's how it is.
So there are lecturers who have no morals, and they are still in our classrooms.
Yes, and it's because we don't attach that part as a necessary condition of picking who's supposed to be a lecturer. We're looking only at academic competences and all of that. And these people have these competences.
And some of these lecturers, they have no shame.
They have no shame. You see, I'm doing education now, and we call something unwritten curricula. That one, or hidden curricula. It's not something written. They are the things we learn invariably. You see? So I'm in school, somebody has done something, it's not planned to be done, but once it is allowed to go on, I invariably absorb that thing and I learn it. So because of these hidden things, it's necessary that we make morality a requirement. You know, there should be a benchmark for checking the morality of lecturers. We may tie that one into professionalism, because you can't talk so much about morals, but you can talk about ethics when it comes to the corporate environment. And so there should be ethics that these lawyers, that these lecturers must really go by. If that is done, then we can, to a great extent, deal with that with this particular menace. For instance, there is no way a lecturer can even have any amorous relationship with a student, no matter how much consent there may be. And as long as the student is in school, they should not, because the love thing can compromise the lecturer to do what he's not supposed to do. Look at the whole Sam thing. I may be sounding quite biblical. A person with God's promise, God told, don't do this. But on the woman's lap, all that wisdom, all that sense of security, he let his guard down, and all the secret were out. So when it comes to love, many people can think well, So the moment the lecturer can have any amorous relationship with their students, then that thing can happen.
You see, I remember when I was in the Polytechnic. I make reference to Polytechnic because when I was there, I experienced this sexual harassment. Colleague ladies came to tell me what they were experiencing. One lady was like, the lecturer said, when I sleep with you, you go and sit for the exam. Whatever you can write, write. Leave the spaces blank after I have the marking scheme. Come over to my house, I'll give you the answer marking scheme, just fill in the blanks.
I think students must be on their alert. We should expect these things and plan for them. Go with set your phone to record, because these things would need hardcore evidence to get somebody convicted or punished. We can't take your word for it. So we should raise that consciousness where that will make it possible that every lady being called by a lecturer, even though it might not be very ethical, but to deal with that thing, should have their phone on their phone recording. If there is any such dangerous, unethical conversations, then you have hardcore evidence to take people on. Our society is not helping. I mean, the way we are brought up to be, I don't want trouble.
Yeah,
Let that go.
So that case, I believe our ladies play a role in this as well.
I mean, whoever is a victim plays a role, and whoever is a perpetrator also plays a role, because after the victimization, if you are able to report, and the perpetrator is being sanctioned or penalized, that's a huge detriment to anybody watching, and they will not do it.
Okay, so you made mention of code of dressing. Then our ladies dress, they expose their cleavages, their thighs. These days there is I don't know what they have. They smear it around their breast, and when you see it shining from far, you will just be swallowing saliva. So anyway, should there be a code of dressing prescribed for students in our universities?
So in secular Ghana, it's very difficult to give a verdict of a sort about dress code. However,
but there is a university in Ghana which has code of dressing for students, and I believe this sexual harassment will be very minimal.
Okay. Once there is victim-induced sexual harassment, as in terms of the one that comes as a result of how the person was dressed or other, I think it's important, and it can be done. Laws are made for the common good of people. It hurts no one if they dress well. So it shouldn't be so stiff, particularly for schools which are in the hands of the government. Those other schools very often belong to some individuals or some religious groups. But for those ones that belong to the government, we can make such rules, but they must not be very, very strict, because when they are strict, naturally.
But we are talking of human rights, my rights, I know my rights, I know my rights, freedom of dressing, freedom of association. So as you said, it could be done. When it is done, you see civil society activists jumping to their defense that no, it is not right. Now that we have lesbianism being legalized, homosexuality being legalized, this would be a big deal for government to handle. And, politically, it would be a political action.
It shouldn't even rise to that level. The institutions, most of them they have some level of control, and they have right to make their own rules and regulations. In as much as they're able to make their own regulations, they can enact those rules and make them work within. And it should be very detailed enough to know that this and that is seen as not decent, and that also seen as decent. If they leave it open and say dress decently, what may constitute a decent dressing to you may not constitute to another.
So there's going to be subjectivity in that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So I recommend laws should be made, but those laws must be very detailed, so that even so that anyone at all can know what constitutes a decent dressing for that.
But I think there are laws everywhere. Even where I school, UPSA, I read on notice board that indecent dressing is punishable.
So what?
But we still see it on our campuses.
So what constitutes an indecent dressing? If you don't deal with that, anybody can define indecent dressing from their perspective. And if you have a student who've lived out of the country before, perhaps they were in America or Europe, and they're down here, you know how they can dress. And for them,
they dress to kill.
Exactly. From where they're coming from, it's a normal thing for them to wear shorts to class. That's what I'm saying, that we just shouldn't make laws, but we should also go forward to make the laws detailed, so that for men and women, we know what constitutes a decent dress. For instance, in our when we were in school, in the Geneva's Congress or in our meetings, we say that you are unparliamentary dressed, even if you have a suit and a shirt without a tie. I couldn't go there. I can't go there in a meeting like this. You see that? So it is so because we have detailed that. Everybody knows what constitutes parliamentary dressing and otherwise. So we are not just recommending for laws to be that the laws be made. We are adding that the laws should be detailed enough for so that nobody can take advantage of it. Nobody should be able to go around the law because it is ambiguous, it is vague, it has no limits. You see that? So I agree, laws should and can be made.
I have some friends, including myself, who believe that usually the young lecturers, the young ones, the youthful ones, are the ones who usually sexually harass students.
If you say usually, fine, because the more young a person is, the more
exuberant they are.
Yes, their sexual drive and all those ones are up there, you know. And so you see, they have everything that can make them live that life. They are young, they are handsome, they have all the energy. Their libido is high as compared to that old lecturer who's just about going over time.
He has also used his own age.
You see that? Yeah. So if you say more, yes, I agree. But that notwithstanding, even the old do it. The old do it. And I've had some female friends complain about some old lecturer. Before I came, just when I landed, I called one lady to send our work to one lecturer. And she doesn't want to go because perhaps she feels that something of the sort can happen. Yeah, and so I'm saying that the young may do it because they have everything that is enticing to these young women. And their capacity as lecturers alone allows them some sort of leverage, some sort of upper hand to lure the victims into their net.
Ben, don't you think that ladies who do these things with lecturers, it is as a result of background, the backgrounds they come from? Because if our religious leaders teach the right things, they speak to the conscience of the people, these things wouldn't happen. Even surprisingly, some of these lecturers are elders in churches.
It's not surprising again. I for one, I think I was in a radio show some time ago, and the person laughed at me because he said, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't suspect things to be happening. Many things surprise me because I couldn't imagine.
You couldn't believe that you expect people to behave the way you are behaving ethically.
For now, after being on radio for a while now, I think I now believe some of the things that are going on. So I'm saying that if you talk about background, there are two aspects to background. Teaching people the right things to do. One aspect of our background that is very negative is how we are taught and brought up to be quiet about things, particularly if it has to do with an elderly person or somebody who is up there in the social class. If we continue doing that, then we're going to raise a generation who would want to suffer in silence, even though they would have loved to talk. And when they love to talk they are timid. They lack that tenacity, that boldness to talk about their feelings. Outside there in the Western world is the opposite. The little child, a child even has that he or she knows is their right to talk about something they don't feel good about. Here we have genuine cases that are worth talking about, but we are not able to talk about them because we are brought up to say it's nothing, leave it to God. So religion is good, but it should have a positive influence. That aspect of society that says let it go. God will do many things, but it takes human beings to also take some things to a level so that God will also deal with it. If nobody reports that lecturer, it might take death or some sort of crime, obvious crime
to report the lecturer.
Until they die.
They will still keep doing it.
You see it. So let's bear the responsibility. You know a friend who is being sexually harassed. Encourage the person. But the problem too is...
Okay, let me cut you there. Some students come to campus purposely with the intention that I am coming in to buy my grades with sex from the lecturers.
Okay.
In this case, do we still throw the blame at the doorstep of the lecturer?
We can't.
Because there are some students I have been a student in my student life. Lecturers who walk into classroom, you see a female student exclaim, "Wow, what a sexy lecturer! Wow, how I wish I had this lecturer." You know, so do we always throw the blame at the doorstep of the lecturers?
Once you commit the crime, you can't be exonerated outrightly. I've been teaching, some time ago I was teaching JHS. News broke that some females in their conversation, I mean, they were watching something, pornography, and their phones were seized. And the teachers went through their chats, and my name came in. That this one is nice, but he looks like a sofa.
Yes.
So we can't go close to him.
Yes.
So it's normal let me say it's normal. Do your part. Let the other person long for you, but be the professional you are.
So it is true that the students at times last after the lecturers,
even the young
they
ones,
go after them. That is their core mandate.
Kids do have crash on their teachers. JHS, they do have. So imagine.
So when all this noise about lecturers sleeping with students for grades, when we the students ourselves, we last after them and we try everything we can to get the lecturers to bed so that they can give us the grades.
That noise is going to be there and must be there because it's a two-way affair. It's like bribery. Both of you are.
These are all adults.
Good.
The law has recognized them as adults. They are not minors.
Good. But once that thing they're doing is unethical, once it has a tendency and the potency to compromise quality of education, if the school you attended, it came out that one person got hair grades through those shortcuts, invariably, it tarnishes, it waters down the quality of anybody who has graduated from that school. How do we know whether yours was not through the same process? Maybe that's where you went to farm
to get my grades. Probably.
You see, so it's a thing that is not a one person's problem. That's why schools are very particular about exam malpractice, because it has a way of tarnishing the results of students who have left the university years ago, those who are currently there, and even for posterity. So we should have offices of a sort, complaint centers of a sort, in all campuses where these things can be lodged. First of all, we must be conscious of the fact that this thing is rife. Because it has gone rife, schools must make deliberate effort and take an office just for the
dedicated to reporting this.
Exactly.
We have DOFSU in the police service.
Exactly.
There should be something on campuses.
Every institution and every campus should have an office that is just dedicated to the investigation of and the receiving of cases, alleged cases of sexual harassment, and it should be both for the lecturer just as it should be for the student.
In your student's life and in your term as president of Ghana National Union of Polytechnic Students, right now some are technical universities, others are still polytechnics.
Yes.
Are they still GNUPs?
We are now NUST. I mean National
Union of Technical Students.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your students' leadership, has anyone ever reported to you that a lecturer has sexually harassed me?
I've had such reports as a friend, not as president or not as leader.
Okay.
Very often they think we concern ourselves with different issues. But as president, everything that affects the social, that affects the student in any way.
You actually had a report.
But as a friend of somebody.
As a friend of somebody.
Yeah, but
before
not my
you
capacity.
became president.
Exactly.
So when you became president, what did you do? So I'm coming to you,
yes,
the student leaders.
Okay.
What roles did you play
in
your time? Here you are proposing solutions. What steps did you take as a president or as an executive then to make sure these things are eliminated? You cannot eliminate those, are reduced
them
to a substantial level in our schools.
I'm not going to mince words, I'm not going to lie. I think that's one area I never touched. Because when I see very often,
then it has become an accepted norm on campuses.
Yes,
you've all accepted that it is something that must be done.
It shouldn't be the case, because see, some things are very difficult to deal with when you don't get victims coming out. But I think as leaders, it should have been part of been part of the key campaigns we did. You know, creating that awareness. That thing is not normal.
No, I am asking.
Yes.
You didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything.
Why didn't you do something? You knew this before you became president.
Yes.
You knew students have been sexually harassed.
Yes.
A friend intimated to you.
Yes.
You became president. you didn't think wise to do anything about it as student leaders. You were the president of all the polytechnics.
Yes. I think it was because of the most pressing issue on the ground. When I came to office, 1 week to my coming into office, all our lecturers went on strike. 2010.
So the sexual harassment has
I'm coming.
Okay.
If teachers are on strike, that means that school is not running. No student will also go to class. It should not have been the case.
Sure.
If they are all at home, then the most pressing issue is not harassment. Get teachers back. When they are back and they are settled, then we can talk about the things that happened when teachers.
Your presidency was for a year, for a whole academic year.
And I'm saying that I had to deal with that issue. That was the time we went on a nationwide demonstration. There was a much pressing issue, which was something that had to be dealt with. You see, the harassment, as I've said, would come only if teachers and students are on campus and normal academic activities are going on. This time around, that was not so. So let's do the first thing first, and after things are normalized, we could do other things. But if there is an area I failed in, I would admit that would be one of them.
All right, we'll come back and continue from that point. Viewer, we are going for a quick break again. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Viewer, welcome back from the break. This is the SRC. If you have just tuned in, we are discussing sexual harassment on campus. And Ebenezer Boachi, former GENUS president, is still here, and we are looking at the issues. Ebenezer, before you went on the break, I was talking about you, the SRC, the executives, failing woefully in tackling this issue. Is it not high time you guys took up this challenge to work around stopping these lecturers harassing students on campus?
Yeah, as the saying goes, they say better late than never. So no matter what we have not done in the past, I think it's necessary that going forward, we are able to champion that cause. It starts with creating awareness, I will say that again, and empowering the individual to know their rights, that it is part of their human dignity for them to choose who touches them in any, in any erotic way whatsoever. That nobody, by virtue of their position, has that luxury or has that right to touch them in any way. And so, if it starts from that part, and the individual student knows that they have a voice, and there are officers through which they can speak for such corporates to be dealt with, then we can reduce this canker. But until we do that, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to look like everybody's fighting alone. But let the awareness come.
What about the women commissioners? I think they should take up this battle because they are affected the most.
Yes, they are the most appropriate officers of the SRC to champion this cause. And I would recommend that, pursuant to this agenda, every women's commissioner, if they don't have officers, be given officers, and let their officers be used, in the interim, until some permanent ones are for the SRC, at the SRC level. For instance, I wouldn't want any student to go straight to the school's office. Let them go to the SRC for advice and counsel. You see that? Let them know how to get their ideas well presented. So let the complaint first be lodged probably at the Home office.
Right now, you guys don't have any mechanism in place as SRC.
I do not think so. I can't.
But you failed woefully during your time as president of all the polytechnics. You failed woefully to do anything about this issue.
Most of these things happen on campuses, not at the national level. And so ideally, per our constitution, as national president, I can't indulge in SRC matters until I'm invited. And so it's directly incumbent on the SRCs to do that. So that if it gets to national level where they need some support, the national comes in. So as I'm saying, as national president, the onus doesn't lie on me directly to do that in schools. They can call us on seminars to add our weight behind, to theirs and push the agenda.
All right.
Yes.
So, okay, now, I believe some lecturers go to the extent of threatening students if they refuse their sexual or their harassment.
That's if it gets threatening, that's more criminal. The act alone in itself is criminal. If anybody gets that further to want to threaten somebody, that person needs to be dealt with.
I had a friend at the Polytechnic. I keep using Polytechnic because that was
We
where...
spend much of our lives there.
Yes, I heard a lot of the reports. A lady friend walked up to me and said, this lecturer said, if I don't give in to him, he was going to fail me.
So you see,
and she was scared.
So what if is an allegation, an attempt, a strategy of the lady to do something to the lecturer for maybe any reason? So it all
Are
comes
you
down to
defending
proof.
the lecturers?
No, it all
It
comes down to
appears you're
proof.
defending the lecturers in this regard.
Any human being will defend themselves given if they were put in that particular situation. So I'm saying that we can't take a person's word for it without evidence and without, you know,
So are you
witnesses.
saying the lecturers don't threaten students?
There was
so
something
refuse their-
that was rampant on your campus, Kofrida Polytechnic. Everybody there was some some mini journalist. Everybody there was some. Yes, everybody was recording. You dared not talk about anything on that campus. I remember I had issues with somebody because she just came to me and was talking. I realized she had recorded. We often know some of these lecturers. We know them. Their names are everywhere on every campus. So if you think they've called you to their office, perhaps for the first time you may not suspect anything. But if you can go there purposely on the second time to get evidence. If the first advancement was done without any evidence, go and come back again.
Are the registrars covering up such lecturers? Because you said we know them, their names are everywhere. Does that go to say the
It's a game of proof,
and the
Gershon.
vice chancellors are covering these people up?
It's a
Because
game of
I
proof.
know there are issues. If paper got cancelled, if paper gets cancelled and we have to receipt, it is because there's an evidence and there's a victim, there's a culprit.
So
we are the
elsewhere-
victims to rewrite. So if the culprit is known, it means the lecturer who did that is known as well. So and the lecturer keeps teaching. So is it that the vice chancellors or the registrars are covering these lecturers up?
I think it's what happens in many circles. People protect their own.
So the vice chancellor and the registrars
People protect
cover up
their
these
own.
kinds of lecturers.
They may talk to them in private, but in camera. But naturally, people protect their own, and that's one thing that is that is worsening the whole thing. If a paper got cancelled, every person in that line of responsibility to have secured the paper, all of them must have questions to answer. Who bears the cost? The institution? You see? So if students know that, and lecturers know that one person's wrongdoing can cause all of them to either lose a part of their salary for some months, then everybody's going to be a check on each other. And by so doing, but if I do it, the school bears the responsibility, the cost, and I don't get hurt. Selfish as all human beings can be without laws or when allowed, everybody will do what they want. So there should be stricter punishment, sanctions for every lecturer whose paper gets, leaked. They shouldn't go down alone.
As a result of
no
sexual
matter what
favors.
it is, no matter.
No, I'm relating to the sexual harassment on campus.
Fine.
You sell your paper for sexual pleasure.
We can't.
It gets cancelled because authority gets to know. The students are penalized to rewrite the paper, and you, the lecturer, you are let off the hook. We don't hear anything being done to the lecturers.
Something must be done to them.
Something must be done to them.
Certainly.
So in US and co, if somebody has any sexual advances towards any lady of a sort, you could even resign your position as a president of US. They speak out. But why is it that in Ghana we don't hear our ladies come, we don't hear the victims come out to speak? We just hear rumors that this has happened. Why are they not coming out to speak?
I do not
Why
know.
are the ladies so quiet? Why are they timid?
If you read post-colonial literature, you get to know all that the black person has gone through. I don't know if it is because of the slavery and the punishment and the inhumane treatment we've ever gone through that makes us water down the effect of some of these things. I don't really know, but it could be part of our subconscious that we have seen worse things. So for a person who has seen worse things, something which is equally bad, it's not seen as, it's not seen in its full magnitude that it should have been
No,
seen.
but there should be something that is preventing the victims from speaking out.
Elsewhere, the least thing is magnified. Here, big things are watered down. That's how converse it is. And so we're saying that we should all wake up to the awareness that wrong is wrong, however rampant or rife it is. And when we do that, let there be people whose responsibility it will be to persecute or, take on such people
But
who
the
are
victims
involved.
are not speaking out. They
The
don't come out
victims
to speak.
I will not come to disgrace myself, so to speak.
Disgrace?
So to speak.
Society will
Exactly.
will stigmatize
And
you.
you get people who say that you are a prostitute, you went there yourself, you only want to blackmail the person. It happens all the time. But anybody can go that length and suffer the consequence if only they're going to get the victim, the perpetrator.
So society tends to be on the side of the lecturers, and we stigmatize the ladies as
You will
the
not
ones.
get results, so it's not worth the shame.
Why are we not getting results?
We are not getting the result because we have not allowed ourselves to see the act as very barbaric. It's against human dignity. And there's a whole article in our constitution that talks about the dignity of the human person. And so we have to make our laws real. That consciousness, that if that thing has gone into our books, then they are very...
Even do the schools themselves, aside the SRC, which you challenged to get an office for reporting these things, the schools themselves, the universities themselves, the polytechnics, the colleges of education, the secondary schools, education at whatever level,
Yeah.
do they have offices? Do they have any establishments where students can boldly walk into, feel protected, defended, to report these things?
I know about counseling rooms and centers. And I think there could be one good area to go in the absence of any dedicated office. You can use the counseling, the school counselor's office as a conduit. But to where? It will only be a conduit. The conduit might lead somewhere. So I feel that it should be part of the SRC priority to get the schools to act. But sometimes the man at the top himself or the woman at the top herself may be culpable in terms of the same act. So the moral dexterity or that moral impetus to take somebody on is not there. These lecturers, very often, they meet and talk among themselves. They play with it. They come and...
So they discuss, I slept with this lady.
Exactly.
I had this one, this my next target.
And moral decadence is going rife in our society. In my office, I think I had one teacher laugh at me. He made jokes about me, all because there's some things I would not do. So the few good people around the good is becoming weird, and the bad is now becoming okay, a norm. And I think the good people should talk so that these things will change. So GERSHON, let from the school council down, because if it's going to get weight, let it come down from the school council. You see that? Make it come down right from there to the SRC. Then these things can be dealt with. Otherwise, we cannot deal with them as we ought to do. And I think that it shouldn't be left with the school. These things are matters that border on people's rights. I don't know whether they constitute criminality from the perspective of the law. But if you want to harass somebody, I think it's something that the laws are against. So it shouldn't be left in the school. If the clear case is established that something happened, it should go out of the hand of the institution. They may apply their sanctions, but the victim must be able to carry this one further to any human rights court or any court that deals with such matters. Until we get lecturers being pulled to court after the school. You see, these schools have some laws that say that if anything, it should be talked within.
I think students should begin to embarrass lecturers publicly. They should begin to shame them.
If we don't have proof.
They should have, at times these lecturers lower themselves so much that they try to have sex with students even in their cars. Some try to send nude pictures to them, nudity of themselves.
Good.
Some try to have this sexual conversation with them on WhatsApp.
Those are proof.
I think our ladies should begin to embarrass these lecturers out there. They should not be scared of the stigma. They should not worry about society will say, one person need to get up now and say enough is enough. Because right now, our daughters are being sent to school and they are not safe anymore. Because they come back with certificates which we cannot guarantee. It's
veracity.
Veracity, exactly.
So I have two daughters. And as they grow, I wouldn't want them to be victims of any such things.
Okay.
And so we are urging individuals to feel empowered, to be able to, they should voice their concerns out. If not to the school, they should get evidence and get it to any human rights.
All right. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Baji, in 1 minute, in conclusion, in summary, what should our ladies out there do to protect themselves from these lecturers?
First of all, they should know their worth. What I don't like is a lady that has no confidence. One very striking feature of any lady. A lady is not just a woman. A lady is an educated woman. And education should bring you some sort of confidence because you know what rights you have and what you don't have. And as educated people, they should also know how to channel their grievances to get results. They should know that they are part of nation building. And it is by voicing these things that we can get those things addressed. Let their sacrifices today save posterity from this particular canker.
All right, thank you very much. Well, viewer, thank you very much. You have watched the SRC, and Mr. Ebenezer Boakye, former president of Ghana National Union of Polytechnic Students, GNUPS, was my guest today. We looked at sexual harassment on campus. Please remember, as a lady, as you said, your dignity matters a lot. If you're a lecturer who goes about harassing students sexually, a big shame unto you. You should be ashamed of yourself. You are there to guide the students and not to take advantage of them. This has been the SRC. Thank you very much for watching. Make a date with us same time next week on this same channel. We shall bring you another interesting episode on this same SRC. The SRC, definitely, we are lifting profiles. My name is GERSHON Mchere. Mr. Ebenezer, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.